Welcome, everyone, to the Provo Municipal Council and Redevelopment Agency of Provo City, Tuesday, September 17th, 2024. It is 5:31 p.m. We'll do a roll call of the elected officials. We have Councilor Craig Christensen, Councilor Travis Hoban, Councilor George Handley, Councilor Gary Garrett, Councilor Catrice McKay, Councilor Rachel Whipple, and Councilor Becky Bogdan, as well as the Mayor, Michelle Kafusi. Today's opening prayer will be presented by Steve Strong, and then we'll have the Pledge of Allegiance by Councilor Handley. And Steve, you can just come up to the stand, please.
Our Father in heaven, we are grateful for the opportunity to be here tonight as neighbors and friends. We are grateful for the great country that we live in, for the great circumstances that we live in, for all of the material blessings that we enjoy. We pray at this time in our country as we are about to vote that we may have kindness and understanding for views that might be different from ours, that we will show respect through this political process. We are grateful for the opportunity to vote and to cast our choice and our decision for the leaders of our country. We are also grateful for the city of Provo and for the blessings that we enjoy living in and around Provo. We pray that we will have thy spirit to be with us here tonight, that we will be able to communicate those thoughts and ideas that we have as agenda items are brought forth, that we can speak clearly and concisely and be able to communicate those things that we have prepared. And we offer this prayer in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thanks, Steve.
Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, our first thing is Provo City Employee of the Month, and this will be presented by the Mayor, Michelle Kafusi, and Doug Robbins, the Director of Parks and Rec.
Chair McCain, Vice Chair Whipple, and members of the Municipal Council. Today, we are privileged to honor an employee who has demonstrated exceptional care for our exceptional community. It is with great pleasure that I introduce Doug Robbins, our Parks and Recreation Director, who will be presenting our September 2024 Employee of the Month Award to a remarkable individual in our Parks and Recreation Department. They're always so thrilled when we call them to come up. They just are like, yay, it's me.
Thank you, Mayor and members of the Municipal Council. In Parks and Recreation, we have the opportunity to work with some fine and exceptional people. And tonight I have the honor to recognize one of these as our Provo City Employee of the Month for September 2024. Riley Snelson began his journey with the Parks and Recreation Department 18 years ago. And over the years, he has become an invaluable part of our team. Now serving as a project manager, Riley is responsible for constructing everything from minor facility improvements to major outdoor recreation initiatives. When I think about Riley, several things come to mind, but I tried to narrow it down to three things: his dedication to making a difference, his willingness to help others, and his unwavering commitment to delivering the highest quality in everything that he does. Riley consistently strives for excellence and never shies away from a challenge. He thrives on solving tough problems, viewing each obstacle as an opportunity to excel. Whether it's managing a detailed and intricate project like the Adaptive Universal Play Center at North Park, or managing one of our largest undertakings, the regional sports park, the Epic Sports Park, Riley steps up every single time. He is exactly what you think of when you think of the go-to guy. When things really need to get done, people call on Riley. He cares deeply and he puts his heart and soul into everything he does at work. Riley truly embodies what we call the spirit of One Provo. In fact, he kind of embraced that before it was cool. He's always willing to lend a hand and share his extensive knowledge of construction across various city projects. His readiness to assist not only reduces project costs, but also conserves public resources. Riley's ability to maintain positive working relationships enables him to call on others also when he needs a hand. This really fosters a culture of teamwork here in Provo. Riley is also known for his efficient approach and high quality work. He never does things halfway, and while he can be a demanding boss with his crews, he's also very fair. And those that work with him learn by following his example. Riley consistently goes above and beyond, showing a strong commitment to ensuring that every project meets the highest standard possible. His skill in the construction trades and attention to detail are impressive, but what truly sets him apart is his proactive approach and his positive attitude. I like to rib Riley once in a while that he's left me twice, once for a job at Facility Services and another position at the Energy Department. But I'm happy to report that he always finds his way back to Parks and Recreation. You know, they say the grass always seems greener on the other side. I just hope that with his involvement with the Epic Sports Park that we're opening on Saturday, that he's seen all the green grass that he could hopefully ever imagine, and he'll stay right with us where he belongs. To Kelly and the entire Snelson family, we want to extend our deepest appreciation. Your husband, your dad, and your son is a key member of our leadership team that makes Provo Parks and Recreation one of the very best in the nation. Thanks for sharing him with us. We're truly grateful. Riley, thank you for your dedication, your long hours, your attention to detail, and your commitment to excellence. It's truly an honor to recognize you as our Employee of the Month for September 2024.
Sitting down and let's get a photo and just a shout out to this Saturday at 10 o'clock. Come for the big ribbon cutting of our Epic Sports Park. It's going to be epic. I mean, the things that they're doing are amazing. And then the sacred grass can finally be stepped upon. You come in the middle, right? Okay, Rob, because I did things, so there's the box. And then you have your gift card.
Thank you.
Riley gave us a tour of the Epic Sports Park recently, and it was amazing to see how much goes into such a big project and to learn all about it. It's going to be phenomenal. As indicated on the screen, a required public hearing will be held for certain agenda items prior to council action. After each such item is presented, time to comment will be provided for all those who wish to speak. For items that do not require public hearing, public comment will still be taken following presentation of the items, but will be limited to 10 minutes. At this time, up to 15 minutes have been set aside for an open public comment period, which is intended to allow comment on matters that do not appear on the agenda but are limited to topics regarding municipal business or within municipal council purview. Persons who speak during this time to an item that is on the agenda will not normally be afforded a second opportunity to speak during the comment period specific to that item. During any comment period. Each speaker will generally be limited to 2 minutes. Due to no seating requirements, no formal action will be taken at this meeting on matters that do not appear on the agenda. Those with comments are invited to approach the podium. Those participating on Zoom will need to use the raise hand feature to indicate they wish to comment. The chair may choose to alternate between in-person and online commenters. Please begin your comments by stating your name and city of residence. You will have 2 minutes to speak.
Hi, my name is Charlene Gorecki. I have been homeless since 2022. I have been living in my van with my children, and I learned I'm on Utah County Housing. I applied in 2022, and they said 3 years, and I applied. I went to talk to them the other day, and they said 3 more years. And I am 60 years old, almost 70, 69, and I have stage 4 kidney disease, and I sugar diabetes and other sicknesses. Anyway, I don't know what else to say other than it's been really hard, and there's times that we need to jump because my car won't start, and nobody will stop and give us a jump. Nobody will offer help. It's because we're homeless, and we live in my van, and we have a cargo over the top where our clothes are in. Me and my kids and cats. We have 3 cats. We had 4, but 1 ran away. And so now we have 3 cats, and we're trying to do our best. It's just really hard, being homeless and nobody caring. Nobody offers help. Nobody will give us a jump. Nobody. People walk right by us and nobody will help us. That's all I gotta say.
Thanks, Charlene.
Okay. Come here.
You could just give your name and your city residence,
Hi,
please.
this is new for me. How are you? You okay?
Yeah.
Okay. My name's Angela. I've been living in Provo for probably, if you can do the math, since 2006. And I felt the desire to get on a bus in the rain with my bike to get here for this potluck. And I was kind of surprised if that was even put on by the city. There was no one even showing up, and the importance of all the outlets and all the resources that are out there that weren't even actually involved in. Was this a city project? Was it you yourself?
Just herself.
Oh, I'm sorry. Then I apologize. My apologies. Because I saw a little 3x5 little cutout piece of paper that was taped onto a fence in Provo about homelessness is not a crime. And this potluck, and I thought, should I bring a bag of chips or what? I've never even thought, I thought this was put on by the city. But having homelessness in the park is not a crime. It's I've never been to a city meeting before, but I'd met these 2 people just riding my bike through the pavilion yelling, is this a potluck for the homeless is not a crime? Because I've been homeless for a while myself, and I lived in the Food and Care Coalition. And that program's helpful, but everything's so temporary. And I was on 3 of the emergency waiting lists until like last month when I got a letter from Provo Housing Authority saying, I'm sorry, but we closed all the cases because the federal funding ran out. Okay, and now the federal funding keeps running out, but instead of putting us that are waiting in despair, they're not, because I know they have the privilege to pick and choose within their housing authority, within the Provo or Utah County themselves.
Thank you. Any more public comment?
Good evening. My name is Jacob. I'm a BYU student and I reside in the city of Provo. I live south of campus and every day I have to cross an intersection at 500 North, 100 East. This intersection is extremely dangerous. There are only 2 stop signs and the other sides we are dependent upon cars to yield to pedestrians. Realistically, they do not yield to pedestrians. There have been several times I've been in the crosswalk while cars have been going through it. So I just wanted to humbly ask that the way that that intersection is organized is reconsidered. Thank you.
Okay, can you please give that intersection to our staff over here? Thanks. And your last name too, please.
Hi, good evening. My name's Chad Kimball. This is my wife, Adrian Kimball. I'm a longtime resident of Provo. We live in Provo now, right across the street from Timpview High School. And Timpview High School has been undergoing construction for quite a long time now. We live in a cul-de-sac across the street from one of their main parking areas. And our cul-de-sac is used by students and staff for overflow parking. But the big problem we have is when the school lets out, they use it as kind of a park and ride. People stop there, they'll be double and triple parked, blocking driveways with their motors running, waiting for people to show up, jump in their cars, and then they take off out of there. It's dangerous. There's a lot of children in the cul-de-sac that are also coming home from school at that time. It's a significant hazard. There's no signs limiting parking or no signs indicating that, that anyone can't park there. So I think they just use it. And our concern is just, they have designated parking for teachers. Sometimes, a lot of times we'll have teachers parking in our, blocking part of our driveway because it's closer to their classroom than the teacher parking is. Because I guess they have to take a shuttle from the teacher parking in. And so we would humbly ask that you guys look at that and consider, maybe no parking during this time or limited access for residents or something, because it's a small cul-de-sac, can't handle the volume of cars that are going through there, and it's really dangerous. So anyway.
Okay, could you
thank
please
you.
give the cul-de-sac and your email to our staff?
You bet.
Thank you.
Hello, Provo City Council. My name is Miguel Garcia. Me and my spouse, we live on the east side of Provo, and I came here today because this is a very urgent matter. Police corruption and misconduct is coming from an officer. His name is Justin North, and it's secret policing, but they're committing crimes every day against me and my family, and I'm being tracked from Provo to every customer, every project that I do. And it's simply with police, federal vehicles, aerial vehicles. They have special capabilities, and they put off like some radiation. I mean, it's secret to the public. A lot of people are not aware, but they have special capabilities. And above my house, we used to live at 115 North, 700 West Provo. We moved from that house because we got evicted because of this sergeant and my neighbor being part of his team. They would hover above my house every night, every day. And then when we moved towards the completely east side of Provo, they all moved over there. And every day, every night, they're above my house. And I'm facing false criminal charges that were summoned to me in my house. And it's a lot of police misconduct, falsifying evidence, planting evidence, and not telling the full story. I don't know all the Utah codes, but I know they're breaching police department policies. This sergeant has his family illegally hired, impersonating police officers. And
Thanks, Mr. Garcia. We have your email. Thank you. All right. See no more public comment. We'll move on to the action agenda items. Is there anyone on Zoom, Malia? Okay, thank you. First of all, an applied motion on a resolution approving the appointment of individuals to various boards and commissions. And this will be presented by Mayor Michelle Kafusi.
Again, just want to say how appreciative and grateful I am of the 98 citizens that volunteer on the mayor's boards and commissions, giving up of their time. Some of the boards and commissions are a little more intense, but every single one of them is a volunteer and critical to my leadership. So we are on top of it. And so at this point, whenever there's a vacancy, we are filling it. So today we are privileged to honor, let me go to my next one because I know this one's here. So today I am recommending the following appointments to Provo City boards and commissions, as well as reappointment to the Arts Council as indicated below, and submit this for the council's advice and consent. So Barta Heiner, I am recommending Barta be reappointed to a 3-year term on the Arts Council ending June 30th, 2027. David Keller. David has a long history of service within committees in hospitals and higher education. He has also dealt with issues in neighborhoods across District 5. His involvement with the Provo Community Emergency Response Team further demonstrates his commitment to the community. I am recommending David for the vacant District 5 seat on the Transportation and Mobility Advisory Committee, as you all know as TMAC, for a 3-year term ending June 30th, 2027. Richard Bowler. Richard is a certified public accountant and has experience in community service and has served on different boards throughout his career. He attends city council meetings and district board neighborhood meetings regularly, and he is committed to serving the community and specifically helping the library to succeed. I am recommending Richard be appointed to the library board for a 3-year term ending June 30th, 2027. Those are the recommendations. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer, but at this point, I'll ask for your advice and consent.
Thank you. Is there any council discussion on the item? All right, we'll take a vote on the implied motion. Councillor Bogdan.
Yes.
Councillor Christensen.
Yes.
Councillor Garrett.
Yes.
Councillor Handley.
Yes.
Councillor Hoban.
Yes.
Councillor McKay, yes. Councillor Whipple.
Yes.
Then that passes 7-0. Next, we have an applied motion on a resolution approving the appropriation of $86,261 in the Wastewater Fund to convert a part-time position to a full-time technician lab. This will be presented by our Public Works, Gordon Haight, and we have heard this item before. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. So this is something we presented in the work meeting 2 weeks ago, and this is to take a part-time Public Works worker at the treatment plant to make them full-time. We initially asked for additional employees, but we had been asked by the administration to look at ways to be more efficient, and we found some ways to really take care of our projects more efficiently, and this is one of those cost-saving measures. So we request this resolution to be approved.
Thanks, Gordon. We will open up this item for public comment.
Okay.
Is there any public comment about this appropriation? Seeing no public comment, we'll go to council discussion. Any council discussion on the item? All right, we will take a vote on the implied motion. Councillor Christensen.
Yes.
Councillor Garrett.
Yes.
Councillor Handley.
Yes.
Councillor Hoban.
Yes.
Councillor McKay, yes. Councillor Whipple.
Yes.
And Councillor Bogdan.
Yes.
That passes 7-0. Next, implied motion on ordinance amending the Provo City General Plan relating to the Water Master Plan. And this is also something we have seen before. It'll be presented by Gary, by Gary or Gordon?
Gordon's going to introduce.
Okay, introduce away, Gordon.
All right. So this is something you've heard multiple times, and we've gone to the Planning Commission, had a recommendation for approval from this plan. And so we have a presentation, but we thought what might be good is just to see if there's questions, how much of the presentation you really want to go through. And so we have Keith Larson, who really worked with the city on this, and I'll have him come up and feel free to grill him with questions or ask for more of the presentation, whatever you want. He's at your disposal.
Thanks, Gordon.
Yes, and I'll just mention this is identical to the presentation that was presented in the work session a month or so ago. So I'm happy to just answer any questions or provide a summary at the council's pleasure.
Are there any questions? All right, I think we're good. We'll go to public comment. Is there any public comment on amending the Provo City General Plan with this water master plan? All right, see no public comment. We'll go to council discussion. Any council discussion on the matter? Councilor Christensen.
I'm just really grateful for the great work that is done to make sure that our water is protected, clean, and safe, reliable. And I think this plan does a nice job of ensuring that in the future as well. Thank you.
And for those of you that don't know, Provo has the third best water in the country. It's awesome.
We want to know who those other two are.
I know. Need to get them. Need to beat them. All right, we will go to a vote on the implied motion. Councilor Garrett.
Yes.
Councilor Handley.
Yes.
Councilor Hoban.
Yes.
Councilor McKay, yes. Councilor Whipple.
Yes.
Councilor Bogdan.
Yes.
Councilor Christensen.
Yes.
That passes 7-0. All right, next I'm going to read in the 2 agenda items. We'll do it at once. An ordinance updating the Urban Forestry Chapter, as well as a resolution approving the appropriation of $205,000 in the Energy Fund to pay for the consolidation of the city's forestry functions. And this will be presented by Scott Henderson.
Thank you for the opportunity of 1 presentation and 2 agenda items. I appreciate that.
It's efficiency
It is.
in government.
I love that. Solid transition. As you know, mayor, admin, council, departments, we all work together on a constant quest for organizational or operational adjustments to add to efficiency in government. And we feel like this next step is a discussion on forestry services within the city. To give you some background, currently we operate with forestry and arboriculture services in both our Parks and Recreation Department and our Power Department. And these are great hardworking crews, but we see logic for consolidation in these areas. And this grouping together is supported by both departments and their leadership. And we have Scott Bunker and Doug Robbins here, as you've seen. So on the next slide, we kind of go over the logic on this. It consolidates the services under our one existing city forester, and Chaz is right here with us. Thanks, Chaz. And he is located in the Power Department. It brings our crews up to the highest level in emergency preparedness that all city crews would be able to be certified and work under power lines and be able to respond to whatever comes our way in Provo. Hopefully it doesn't. It really matches the One Provo One team, where consolidated services to provide services for the entire city is a good idea. Maybe the old plan may have worked better in a siloed government, but I think we have gone past that and we can really celebrate efficiencies together. It brings an efficiency of clarity. If there is a tree issue that comes to the city through our 311, then we know exactly where that phone call should go. Where other ones, it was based on whether it was parks, whether it was under a power line, a street tree, or other trees that were located on other city property. So this provides that clarity. It also brings these crews to a salary and training balance. We've talked about the uplift of training, but everybody is paid the same. It does have benefit for our general fund. And it has a savings of approximately about $250,000 in our general fund, moving this from the general fund to an enterprise fund. It'll be a partial year this year, so John Borga will have some different numbers. So we really feel like, as a consensus, this is good for individuals and good for our organization. The process that we're in right now, we have preliminary staff discussions have been conducted. On the next slide, it goes over this. We are now here presenting today about budget and code adjustments. We will look at the transfer of 2 full-time and seasonal personnel in parks to power. And then we're looking at an effective date, if all is agreed upon, for October 1st. And maybe just a short moment on defining what this is really about and what a singular purpose of leadership is. And we've worked with council on many of these items, is really getting the good ideas that have been there. We talked about this idea has been discussed for years, and maybe it's our job to get things to the finish line. But we have done things about how do you improve your government workforce, and it's by increasing their skills. And we run a Provo City Tech education program that educates all of our employees on the software that exists, and we are turning more and more employees into experts on their operating systems. We separated the human resource director. We see focused and independent leadership based on that move. We are conducting higher level supervisor and management training. The administration and council work together on a balanced budget with no general operations tax increase for the general city, something we are very proud of. We really focus on one power and the power of one, and we featured Riley, and that is definitely the power of one individual, but Riley will be the first to admit that he worked with a lot of people to do these projects in a lot of departments, and that's how Provo does amazing things. And we think the next step is this forestry services consolidation. And I think if we can work and get this to the finish line, it's just another one of our great stories about efficient government. So the reason we did one presentation and 2 slides is we'll have Brian talk about the code changes, if that's all right, Brian, since he did all the work. And then after Brian will be John Borgett to talk about the appropriation change necessary to consolidate these services. But I can take any questions now, or we can wait till after. Either one is fine.
Any questions for Scott while he's there? No, thank you, Scott.
All right, thank you.
Evening, Chair and council members. If you can scroll down to, okay, so I don't know how many of you had a chance to look at this earlier. This is the typical danger of providing me something to revise, because very little of what you see here is actually necessitated by the change that Scott just described. Really, the only thing that part of this that pertains to what Scott just described was some places where I deleted language about the Parks and Rec Department and inserted the name of the Department of Energy. Pretty much everything else in here is rewording for grammatical and stylistic consistency. So if you have questions about any of that, I'm happy to answer them. But the red line is the extensiveness of the red line is not really necessitated by what Scott just talked about.
Okay.
Any questions?
Any questions for Brian? Okay, thanks, Brian.
Okay.
All right, next we have John. John Borgett, I want to call you our CFO.
Sounds good. So it's a pleasure to come before the council. This basically is the budget that would be needed for the balance of the year, assuming this change were to take place in October. So we would go into the energy budget, and the positions would move over as well as the vehicles, and this would give them the ability to continue and operate through the balance of the year. So with that, I can answer any questions.
Any questions for John? All right, thank you, John.
Thank you.
Brian, we need to do 2 separate votes, correct?
Yes.
All right. We'll open up this item first to public comment. If anyone wants to comment on the change of forestry from Parks and Recs to consolidation in energy.
Madam Chair, you just for the sake of clarity, so that you don't have to do it again, they can comment on both items. You just need
Yes.
to take the vote separately.
Yes. Any comment? All right. We'll move this item to council discussion. Is there any council discussion on either of these items? All right, seeing no council discussion, first of all, we'll take a vote on the applied motion of an ordinance updating the Urban Forestry Chapter. Councilor Handley.
Yes.
Councilor Hoban.
Yes.
Councilor McKay, yes. Councilor Whipple. Yes. Counselor Bogdan,
Yes.
Counselor Christensen,
Yes.
and Counselor Garrett.
Yes.
Next, an implied motion vote on a resolution approving the appropriation of $205,000 in the Energy Fund to pay for the consolidation of the city's forestry functions. Counselor Hoban.
Yes.
Counselor McKay, yes. Counselor Whipple.
Yes.
Counselor Bogdan.
Yes.
Counselor Christensen.
Yes.
Counselor Garrett.
Yes.
Counselor Handley.
Yes.
And both those votes pass 7-0. All right, next, a public hearing regarding the 2023-2024 Consolidated Annual Performance Report for HUD Programs. And this will be presented by Melissa McNally. Now, this is a report that we have to do for the government as a follow-up, correct, Melissa?
It is. Thank you. And good evening, council and members of administration. Okay. So once a year, this is a report that we put together for our community development block grant and our home investment partnership grant that we get from the Department of Housing and Urban Development. And it's basically a report on what those federal funds have done in our community over the last year. So in fiscal year 23-24, the CDBG projects that we had underway were emergency home repair, egress windows, our commercial facade program, some public works projects in the Joaquin and Foothills neighborhoods, our 600 South improvements, nonprofit capital improvements, and also our nonprofit social services. And then with our home funding, we had down payment assistance programs. We have a program specifically for Provo residents, and we have another program that serves most of Utah County. We also had an Orem senior housing project underway and self-help homes projects that's currently underway in Salem. So what we have accomplished in our economic development portion of our CDBG programs, we created and retained 7 full-time equivalent jobs. There were 3 small businesses assisted. In our home ownership, we had 6 homeowner houses rehabilitated, and direct financial assistance was given to 7 home buyers, and this would be first-time home buyers. And then we had our infrastructure projects benefited 11,757 low and moderate income households. Services for victims of domestic violence benefited 978 people. Employment training was provided for 117 people. Services for individuals with disabilities, 249 people, and other services, 541. And this is the 4th year of our 5-year consolidated plan. We submit these plans to HUD every 5 years. And this is just the line in blue shows what we've accomplished this year. And then the bottom, we have the totals for our overall. The first, the line in green are the goals that we set to accomplish over those 5 years. So in some areas we're surpassing, in other areas we need to maybe change some strategies, especially when it comes to homeowner assistance, which, as you all know, is really difficult right now. So those are some things that we're looking at changing and improving in our programs, but this is kind of the just a really high level Cliff Notes version of what we've accomplished in the past year. There is a draft copy of the Consolidated Annual Performance and Evaluation Report, or CAPER, available on our website, and I believe you all should have received one in your packet. We do have a comment period, so residents of Provo or any part of Utah County are welcome to comment on the actions that we've taken and how they feel about what we've accomplished. There is a comment section on our website to go with the draft And there are also instructions on ways that they can contact me directly to leave comments.
Thanks, Melissa.
Mhm.
Any questions for Melissa? All right, thank you. We'll open this item up for public comment.
Thank you.
Is there any public comment regarding this report? All right, seeing no public comment, we'll open it to council discussion. Is there any discussion on this item? All right, thanks for your good work, Melissa. Councilor Bogdan.
I was going to say thank you as well. That was a lot to read, so I'm sure it was a lot to put together. So thanks for doing that.
All right, next implied motion on ordinance amending Provo City Code regarding signs permitted in the downtown zones. This will be presented by Aaron Ardmore, our planning supervisor.
Thank you, Council. So this text amendment came from working with the Downtown Business Alliance. They approached us with some desires from different business owners down there to bring back that sign in the middle there, which we're calling a marquee sign. Bring those back as a permitted sign type downtown. There's a number of different sign types already permitted in these areas, especially on Center Street. So as we work together, we kind of found a good compromise, I think, to try to bring these back, but not so much that it kind of floods the signage of historic Center Street. So the proposal is this: it's to introduce a new marquee sign, permitted sign type downtown on Center Street between 500 West and 200 East. They would be limited to 3 per block face, and they'd be limited in size and thickness, and lighting availability is only internal or external. No neon lights would be permitted. And we supported this because it's economic development. It's supporting businesses downtown, it's supporting Center Street, historic Center Street. So the Planning Commission saw value in this, and they also recommended approval on it, but I'll answer any questions if there are any.
Thanks, Aaron. Any questions for Aaron? All right, thank you so much.
Thank
We'll
you.
open this item up for public comment. Any public comment about signs downtown? All right. Oh, come stand up and talk at you just give your name and your city of residence, please.
Thank you. I'm going through the learning curve here.
No worries.
The only comment I had was the other day I was observing that in the area we're talking about downtown, my name is Jan Ward from Salem, actually. But I was observing that the trees and so forth have grown up. It's a beautiful area, but the trees have grown up to where you can't see, even if there were nice signs, and maybe this will help, business names. It's hard to see as you look down the street. It's a grove of trees, and that's beautiful. I don't know how we would address that, but I just happened to notice that they like to be noticed. The businesses do, and thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment? All right, we'll open this item up for council discussion. Any discussion on this item? Councilor Hoban.
I expressed some opposition to this, but I'm compelled by the remarks of my fellow council members and this gentleman here to support it now. So thank you all for your feedback.
Thanks, Travis. Councilor Christensen.
Anytime we talk about signs, there's always a balance. And I think as we've studied this and taken a look at it, what the staff is proposing, I think this is the right balance. The business is downtown. This is a downtown environment. This is where signage belongs, and there needs to be a good balance. And I'm certainly convinced that this is the right kind of balance and will help our businesses. We want downtown to be thriving. And if this helps, I'm so supportive of it.
Thank you. Any more comment? Okay, we will vote on the implied motion. Councilor McKay, yes. Councilor Whipple?
Yes.
Councilor Bogdan?
Yes.
Councilor Christensen?
Yes.
Councilor Garrett?
Yes.
Councilor Handley?
Yes.
Councilor Hoban?
Yes.
That passes 7-0. Next, an applied motion on ordinance amending the zone map classification of real property located at 5544 North River Run Drive from the OSPR Zone to the medium density zone. And this will be presented by Aaron Ardmore.
Okay, so as the council is aware, this property highlighted on the maps was recently brought in from Orem to Provo City as a part of working through this river district kind of overall master plan. If you go there now, you'll see phase 1 being constructed. Phase 2 is in the open space preservation and recreation zone because that's the default when we annex property in. But it gives the public opportunity to be updated on this. So this is going to be phase 2 of the residential, the townhome community they're building there. Here it is in context with the surrounding area. The request is for the MDR zone, exactly the same as the phase 1. There's a development agreement with this one that locks in the public access easement along the river there on the trail. You can see there, as it was in the phase 1. Staff is supportive of this. There's been a lot of groundwork to get here to this point, and this is just a continuation of that. Do you have any questions for me?
Thank you, Aaron. All right, any questions for Aaron? Councilor Christensen.
Would you mind just addressing, there's been a lot of concern about not just the right of way, but this is a beautiful part of the stretch of, could be a beautiful part of the stretch of the river. What assurances do we have as just citizens that this will be taken care of? This will be nice. Could you just address that?
Sure, yeah, and that has been the prevailing concern through this whole process. And the developer was aware of that and has proffered to grant that perpetual easement along the river to build and maintain the trail and the landscaping along it. And I believe, as you do, that it will be a benefit to the city. Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Aaron? All right, thanks, Aaron. And we will open this item up for public comment. Is there any public comment on this item? All right, seeing no public comment, we'll move to council discussion. Is there any discussion on this item? All right, I guess, well, Councilor Christensen.
I'm sorry, Aaron. I did have one more question. Would you remind me, I know it was in the pre-work that we saw the whole package. How many rental units in phase 1?
Phase 1 was 195.
195, and there'll be 24 in this one.
Yeah, that's
Okay,
correct.
thank you.
Yep.
So my concern is, as we take a look at the housing crisis that we find ourselves in, part of our responsibility as a council is to balance both home ownership and rental units being available. So we have lots of rental units in phase 1. I would have liked to have seen home ownership in phase 2. Now, I understand the developer will make a case, well, it doesn't work with my project. And frankly, I think we hear far too much of that. And we're not balancing. We're not giving people an opportunity for home ownership. And that's a key thing to balance. And I feel very strongly that at some point we need to stop just saying, well, okay, I guess there's nothing we can do. We can do something. And that's why I'll be voting no on this.
Councilor Bogdan.
I feel the same way as Craig, so I'll be voting no as well.
Councilor Garrett.
I agree with comments that have been made relative to what has been for us a priority this year to increase home ownership in our city. At the same time, we have here a developer who is attempting to bring in entrepreneurs, others that I think are critical to our economic base in Provo. And so I think in spite of the fact that we do from time to time hear compelling justifications for and against different projects, I think it's important to show this developer that we value and appreciate what he's bringing to Provo.
I do also really appreciate the trail. The developer is going to maintain the trail, keep it up. Hopefully there's some benches or amenities on it, but that it is going to be maintained at the developer's expense and that they gave up that land at their expense for the good of the city to use that trail, I think is fantastic. Councilor Whipple.
Yeah, and this is a project that we have
have seen, we've heard many times as it's gone through the different phases, moving it from Orem to Provo and everything else. And I think it's important to remember that the reason this developer is building housing is to support his tech business where he's bringing people in. There are not places for his people that he's bringing in to live. And so he's solving that housing problem for himself. And by creating housing for the people that he's pulling in from all over the place, from out of state, he is not having them compete in the rental market in the rest of Provo and everything else. And if they choose to stay here, then they can go on the market and buy a house, but they can get here immediately and have a place to live and can work so that that business is able to continue to grow and develop and do all of that amazing innovation and economic development that we want in our city. So I see this less as taking away home ownership opportunities and more as something that's addressing our shortage of rental units that we have. And one person who has seen, I need rental units for my people, creating that so that they're not competing in the rest of the city for that. So I would have loved if some of these were homeowner ones, but I can understand why he wants them to be rentals so he can continue to have control of this much larger campus so that it can have that character and uniformity, because this is going to be an incredibly nice area to live. And he's going to use it to attract top talent to come and live here. So this is a case where I think this is probably the best possible rental project that we could have. And that's why I'm very supportive of it.
Chair McKay,
Mhm.
could I give some additional information? Would that
Sure.
be okay. And let me preface it by saying this is not intended to sway a counselor's vote or to do any of that. It's just some additional information that I think was missing from the previous presentation about the history of this project. This project was, or the section that we're talking about right now, phase 2, was originally in Orem City and was actually entitled for the exact development that's being proposed now to be built in Orem City. The developer came to the council some time back, a year or more ago, and felt like it would be better for everyone if the entire project, phase 1 and phase 2, was in the same city instead of straddling two cities. So he came and asked to be annexed into the city based on this project plan. And the council then subsequently reviewed and accepted that annexation and annexed this property into Provo. Again, knowing the information that's on these maps, that was how and it was as part of that annexation that the terms were negotiated regarding the river trail and the public trail easement. So to some degree, just be aware that the developer is coming to you asking you to approve a project that he could have built in Provo and was legally in Orem and was legally authorized to build in Orem, and is only proposing to build in Provo because he came to the council and asked the council to annex him into Provo, and they did so. Just
Yes,
for
thank you, Brian. I do agree 100% with what Rachel said, but I also agree with Craig as far as there are very few projects that could sell me on rentals like this one. This is an unusually economic development, and all the reasons that Rachel said. Not many rental projects come with such a win for the city. So I am grateful for that. And I am so grateful that these people are going to live with people in their same city, and their kids will be in the same schools and not be split up in schools and different things and not get their Amazon packages delivered. Be disastrous. Any more comments? All right, we will move to a vote. Councillor Whipple.
Yes.
Councillor Bogdan.
No.
Councillor Christensen.
No.
Councillor Garrett.
Yes.
Councillor Handley.
Yes.
Councillor Hoban.
Yes.
Councillor McKay, yes. So that passes 5-2. Next, we have an implied motion on ordinance amending the zone map classification of real property generally located at 5544 North River. Oh, sorry, guys. Already did that. All right, next, an implied motion on ordinance amending Provo City Code regarding exceptions to signs and outdoor advertising regulations. This will be presented by Scott Johnson, our zoning administrator.
Good evening, council. Thank you. So just really quick overview. This was discussed in the work meeting recently, but so recently this year, there was a complaint received by the city about a temporary campaign sign in a residential neighborhood that was an electronic sign. Our code, as it's currently written, did not allow us to enforce on that because of the exemptions written in the code, which were fairly blanketed. This text amendment would not allow temporary election campaign signs to be animated, and if they are electronic in nature, they must follow all other regulations in the city for electronic signs. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions for Scott? Okay, thanks, Scott. Thank you. We'll open this item up for public comment. Any public comment? All right, see no public comment. We'll move to council discussion. Any discussion on this item? All right, we'll take a vote. Councillor Bogdan.
Yes.
Councillor Christensen.
Yes.
Councillor Garrett.
Yes.
Councillor Handley.
Yes.
Councillor Hoban.
Yes.
Councillor McKay, yes. Councillor Whipple.
Yes.
So this passes 7-0. Next, implied motion on a resolution approving the appropriation of $13,743 in the general fund for a contractual sales tax increment post-performance payment to Days Market. This will be presented by Keith Morey.
Good evening. I'm Keith Morey. I'm the Economic Development Director. We've talked about these projects in the past. If you remember right, what we've done in the past is we've put together these sales tax reimbursement agreements with several of the shopping areas in our community who reinvested in those areas in an attempt to stabilize the environment and to increase traffic to those projects. We found them to be wildly successful. Days Market area, that whole shopping area is one of them. Through the improvements that they've made, the store became, an incredible, I think, neighborhood location that we wish we could replicate over and over again. And their sales tax has increased significantly. And part of the agreement was that if they would make that contribution, and if they saw an increase in sales tax, we would share back a portion of that for a period of time, just to supplement their improvements. It was never meant to reimburse them for the total cost, but basically to show our partnership with them and our commitment to economic development in their area. So this project has been wildly successful. This year's contribution is a reflection of the increase in sales tax, and it represents $13,743. And cumulatively, this is the 5th year that we've done this. It's $64,000 total that we've reimbursed them for continued progress. Eventually that will tap out and will be done, but it's a great way to show that we're committed and we support what they've done.
Great. Thanks, Keith.
You bet.
Any questions for Keith? Councillor Garrett.
Keith, a question that I meant to ask earlier. This tool for economic development expires due to legislative action in 5 years, correct?
This agreement had a limited time frame. It had a limited number of years and a limited amount that we could reimburse them for. The state actually eliminated the opportunity to create more of these 2 years ago. So as far as the state's concerned, you can't do any more of them. The ones that are already in place like this one can continue to play out because we have an agreement.
Through the term of the agreement.
Right, exactly. So this we'll continue with this rereimbursement until the agreement expires.
Okay, but then it can't be renewed.
Right, correct.
Okay, thank you.
And frankly, there would be no reason to renew it unless, hypothetically, if the state hadn't done what they had done, they could come back and say, we're going to make more improvements. Can we renegotiate? And we might have been willing to consider that, but the state said we can't do it anymore.
Okay, thank you.
And maybe so that the public understands, because I think it's important, the way I just said that, it may sound like the state's impression is that there's something illegal about this, right? The real reason why the state was trying to disallow this was to stop cities from incentivizing one retailer from relocating from one community to another. And we've seen that here in our own community. It was to keep maybe Dillard's from going to Orem instead of staying here in Provo. And although I get why the state did that, I think it eliminated great opportunities like this. And so that's why the state stopped allowing these types of agreements.
Thanks, Keith.
You bet.
All right, we'll open this item up for public comment. Any public comment on this item? All right, council discussion. Any discussion on this item? Okay, well, I know the council's dying to know if there's a BYU class here and if that's why there's so many people. Is that it? All right. We're not usually this popular.
We
Okay,
were also a little sad that it wasn't a little more controversial for you.
I know, this is not that exciting, so we apologize. All right, we will take a vote on the motion. Counselor Christensen,
Yes.
Counselor Garrett,
Yes.
Counselor Handley,
Yes.
Counselor Hoban,
Yes.
Counselor McKay. Oh, yes. Counselor Whipple,
Yes.
Counselor Bogdan.
Yes.
That passes 7-0. Next, we are going to recess. If there's no objection, we'll now recess at Provo Municipal Council and convene as the Redevelopment Agency Governing Board by unanimous consent.
All right, we are now convened as the Redevelopment Agency Governing Board. Item number 12 is a resolution approving and adopting the amended project area plan for the Freedom Plaza Community Development Project Area. This will be presented by Keith Morey.
Okay, when a city decides to create a redevelopment project area, and hopefully maybe this will help the public understand why we're discussing this, you define on a map what the project area boundary is going to be so that the taxing entities, the city, the county, the school district, are aware that you're considering doing something in that area that may change how normal property tax is distributed. So how much would normally go to the city or the county or the school district? Clear back in 2010, you can see in the map on the left, the original project area boundary was created, and we'd had conversations about what could potentially be done there. Shortly after that was done, and we finalized that agreement, the district court determined that that would be a great location for the new courthouse that we have here in Provo. And so as we move forward with that, there began to be a conversation about that project area shifting, as you can see, to what's reflected in the map on the right. And although that was talked about and everybody mutually agreed to it, these laws are so specific that you kind of have to make sure you've actually drawn that map and that it's actually been approved. And it just was determined that that process was never formally completed the way it should have been. And so we're trying to correct that. The notice has gone out to all the different taxing entities that this is what the project boundary should have become back in 2010 and 15 when this was all being discussed. And so we're asking for the city council or the redevelopment agency to approve this new project area boundary the way it should have been defined some time ago. I don't know if you have any questions or not.
Are there any questions? All right, thank you. We will now open this item for public comment. Is there any public comment? All right, seeing no public comment, we will now move to board discussion. We're bored of discussion. All right. Mr. Christensen.
Well, I just have to say this. So as we prepare for these city council meetings or these redevelopment agency, we get a binder of information that we can then get a chance to review. We then have a work session where we go through all of the detail. Just for those attending and wondering, well, why aren't you doing your jobs? Much of this detail and all that information is available to you online as well. So this isn't a secret package. This is actually available to everyone. It's publicly noticed. And just wanted you to know that a lot of thought actually goes into this instead of just rubber stamping. Now I feel better.
Thank you. I'm glad you got that off your chest. Yeah, this is really just like the final step in a much longer process that involves a lot of conversations and research. All right. Well, seeing no further board discussion, we will call for a motion on the resolution. Board Member Bogdan.
Yes.
Board Member Christensen.
Yes.
Board Member Garrett.
Yes.
Board Member Handley.
Yes.
Board Member Hoban.
Yes.
Board Member McKay.
Yes.
And I, Board Member Whipple, will also vote yes. So that is a unanimous vote of 7-0 for the record. If there's no objection, we will now adjourn the RDA Board of Provo City and reconvene as the Provo City Municipal Council by unanimous consent.
All right. Next, we have an implied motion on ordinance adopting the Community Development Project Area Plan for the Freedom Plaza Community Development Project Area. And this will also be presented by Keith Morey. So it's basically the same thing.
It is exactly.
Any
now.
questions for Keith?
Right.
So
like the
maybe it
way
would
you
be
work.
helpful if you could just explain why we do this as an RDA board and also as a council.
Yeah, because it takes the city's finalization of what the redevelopment agency has done. And so this is just the final act for the city to complete this process.
Okay, thanks, Keith.
You
Any
bet.
public comment on this item? All right, see no public comment. We'll go to council discussion. Any council discussion? All right, we'll do a vote on the implied motion. Counselor Christensen,
Yes.
Counselor Garrett,
Yes.
Counselor Handley,
Yes.
Counselor Hoban,
Yep.
Counselor McKay, yes, Counselor Whipple,
Yes.
and Counselor Bogdan.
Yes.
So that passes 7-0.
Wouldn't it be amazing if the council voted entirely differently than the board did?
That would be funny.
Yeah, it's not happening tonight though, friends.
All right. For the record, we're continuing the Development Services Request Ordinance Text Amendment to Title 14 with regards to multifamily amenities. And with no objection, we will now adjourn the Provo Municipal Council meeting by unanimous consent.